Alright, before we get into this Art of War 3 battle, just want to highlight our opponents. This is a 2-time AI medalist from FATSQUAD, and our other opponent is none other than the legendary FATSQUATCH, who's a dedicated YouTuber in the AOW3 community. So we've got an exciting matchup lined up against these two players. Let's go ahead and get into the battle. Alright, welcome back to another Art of War 3 replay. I'm your host, John Cena, and today we're going to be doing a clan versus clan 2v2 battle. I'm going to be the blue Confederate player. My ally, Bullet 82 MK2, is going to be the green Confederate player. Let's get into it. We got some very aggressive scouting happening. Both Bullet and I know that we are facing off against some good people. We know that we cannot mess around. We are going after it. Full gold boost. Here we go. Looks like FATSQUATCH is getting a scout onto Bullet's base there. Bullet's meanwhile getting some good naval control, getting those containers on the ground, or excuse me, the water. I got most of the containers on the land except for the large resource container. Looks like Red's going to try and push an early game assault against my base, but I've got ground troops already coming out to help defend. So my plan is to go for a full ground build, going for hammers, fire assaults, and some typhoons mixed in. Red's getting a scout onto Bullet's base there. We can see Red is starting to move some troops onto the center plateau for map control. This is a very smart move from the Red player. I'm going to pull my hammer tank off the plateau. My hammer tank is going to get destroyed. Looks like Red's going to try and harass me with the Dragonfly a little bit. But I've got a Typhoon. I'm going to move the Typhoon a little bit closer, and Red is going to retreat. So I'm continuing to amass units. Here comes FATSQUATCH though. FATSQUATCH has a few Gators moving in. Bullet's got 3 torpedo platforms and a Viking to help with the defense. And Bullet has popped a gold common defense boost to help out. So 2 of those Gators have been cleaned up already. FATSQUATCH needs to re-micro those Gators to hit the Viking. And he has. Looks like these Gators are going to get cleaned up though. Bullet's doing a good job defending the waters there. And we can see that that attack has been successfully repelled. I'm going to start to move in for a counter-attack. We're going to try and take the plateau here. We can see Red's trying to move more ground troops onto the plateau. We see a mix of Grenadiers, Armadillos, Porcupines, and Dragonflies. I've got hammer tanks, Typhoons, and fire assaults. My fire assaults have just decimated the Grenadiers though. My hammer tanks are shredding the vehicles, and there's just not enough Dragonflies in the mix to counter. So now, just like that, I have now taken control of the top plateau. We're going to secure that large resource container. Jaguar tank tried to move in, but that tank is going to get cleaned up. Looks like FATSQUATCH is going to try and drop some walls down to slow my vehicles down, but I'm actually not going to commit just yet for an assault. I want those resources, and I also want a bigger army. So I tell Bullet to try and get a scout onto both FATSQUATCH, the yellow player, and FATSQUATCH's ally. So Bullet's going to move in some infantry here. The infantry do get cleaned up. We see that FATSQUATCH is laying down a couple mines with the Armadillo, so that's an interesting move. We see some sniper towers as well. And look at this surprise move from the Red player, putting out walls. So I originally thought that Red was going to try a full-on camping strategy. So I'm going to move a hammer tank in. Looks like there's a construction yard down there with some Jaguar tanks and Grenadiers. So we know that Red potentially is not going to be able to defend my assault if I time it properly. I'm going to try to amass some more ground troops. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and harass the Red player here. Hammer tanks moving in. We clean up that gun tower under construction. That's a free 300 resources. And now we're going to start to break some of these walls. Here comes some Hawks from the Red player. The Hawks take some heavy damage from my Typhoons though. And it looks like that Typhoons are going to continue to fire on the aviation from Red. Red's actually going to move ground troops to try and counterattack. I think this is a bad move. I have the high ground, and Red just does not have enough ground troops to counter. I have a large ground army right now. Red is going to get a couple Typhoons, but I've got replacement Typhoons to move in. And now suddenly I've cleaned up all of Red's ground troops. This is bad news for the Red player. FATSQUATCH knows that Red's in trouble and is going to try to move in some troops to help defend. So now we're moving my hammer tanks into Red's base here. I'm going to start to try to move the rest of my ground troops in. We're going to commit to an assault. We can see on the mini-map that Bullet is also bringing in some ground troops. So we have a full ground assault unfolding on the Red player's base. We are moving a mass amount of ground troops in, and we can see that Red's desperately trying to defend. Red does not have the ground troops to defend effectively. So now we're starting to get to some of the critical infrastructure. I'm going to switch to a gold vehicle attack boost. I'm trying to conserve my gold common attack boosts. Here come the reinforcements from Bullet. This is a full-on invasion into the red player's base. Red is in huge trouble right now. Red is desperately trying to defend. FATSQUATCH is going to move in some Jaguar tanks and a Dragonfly to try and defend. FATSQUATCH doing a really nice job deploying those Jaguar tanks between the buildings to spread them out while providing cover and fire. But there is just way too many ground troops on our end. We have just a huge army inside Red's base. And we can see that Red's only HQ3 at this time. Both Bullet and I have the tech advantage over Red at this time. We see that there's a lot of Typhoons in the mix for us, so aviation is no problem to deal with. My hammer tanks are going to try and finish off that airfield from the red player so that those Hawks can no longer dock. And we can see that there is a low power building under construction on the right hand side there. I tell Bullet to move his ground troops over towards my Typhoons just so we can consolidate our ground troops. So Bullet's going to move his troops over. He's got lots of Typhoons, but only a couple of Zeus tanks left from his initial attack force. So while this assault is unfolding, I am continuing to rebuild my ground troops. I know that this assault probably will not be enough to finish off the red player, but we need to have a backup plan just in case. Dragonfly trying to come in, but there's just way too many Typhoons for that Dragonfly. We're going to go ahead and clean up that level 2 AVF factory. We're putting down some heavy fire onto that level 3 headquarters, but that headquarters is very tanky. It is taking a lot of hits. It's going to take us a while to take it down. My hammer tanks, meanwhile, have just finished off that special vehicle factory along with the fire assaults, and now we're going to focus fire onto that headquarters. More reinforcements coming in from FATSQUATCH. Some Dragonflies trying to come in to put down some fire, but those Typhoons are cleaning up the Dragonflies very nicely. More tanks are moving in from FATSQUATCH as well. We can see that the red player has 5 supply centers left and a few power plants and barracks. So the red player is still able to make a few riflemen here and there to help with the defense. We see that red has also plopped down a couple of sniper towers to help with defending as well. I'm actually going to call in the retreat. I'm going to tell Bullet to try to regroup with my next wave of troops. Here comes my next wave of troops coming in. We got hammer tanks, Zeus tanks, shield, and a few infantry in the base. And it looks like Bullet's got some Thors out now, so Bullet is going to bomb the factories there. Thors are coming in, direct hit on the factories. It's going to clean up that gun tower, but that Avia factory is only going to be partially damaged. So now we got the shield generators supporting my ground troops. We're trying to clean up the rest of the infrastructure here. My hammer tanks are moving in. Bullet's calling it GG's, but I wouldn't say it's GG's just yet though. FATSQUATCH is putting up a really good fight. There's a lot of riflemen just pouring into the remainders of Red's base here. We see a Mole in the mix as well. Mole is going to deploy, and we see those mini gun towers deploy. Those turrets are dishing out some good damage against my ground troops. The riflemen are trying to dish out damage as well. The hammer tanks are not great against riflemen, so we're going to need to switch builds potentially pretty soon here. I'm starting to run out of troops here. We can see that Mole is attacking my Zeus tank, and look how much damage it does to my Zeus tank. The Zeus tank is going to get cleaned up. I don't have anything to directly counter the Mole. In my remaining ground troops, I am going to probably need to retreat at this time. So I'm slowly losing ground here. We're going to try to see if we can at least save a couple vehicles in the mix. I'm going to leave the hammer tanks behind though, just to dish out as much damage as I can. I'm going to go ahead and try to retreat my shield generator. We can see Red is going to deploy a backup headquarters, probably a gold reserve HQ boost. I'm going to regroup at the top of the plateau. This is the best place to do it. That Dragonfly trying to pursue, it's not going to work out. Here come the Thors from Bullet. Bullet scores a direct hit on the headquarters, but he doesn't destroy the headquarters. That is a very tanky headquarters, as Bullet has maxed Thors for rank, and they have 4 bombs each, and that is just a lot of damage dished out. One more Thor comes in, but that Thor is not going to be able to finish off the headquarters, so I think Red is going to be able to start to build back into the game. We cannot let Red get back into the game. We need to secure the win. Here come the Thors once again. They're going to score direct hits once more on the headquarters, and this is with a gold attack boost. So we know that Tier 3 headquarters is very tough. So we're going to need to launch another full-scale ground assault. Here comes some riflemen from FATSQUATCH. FATSQUATCH trying to storm the plateau here and burn off some command points perhaps. My troops are just incinerating the riflemen though. I've got a very nice army composition mix. This is a close to full HQ4 army for me. So we know we've got plenty of firepower to work with to storm the red player's base. We're going to take full advantage of it. Red vehicle scout boost to increase the speed of my units. And here we go. We're going to start to storm the red player's base. We're going to switch to a gold vehicle attack boost once we're in position. Dragonfly is raining down fire onto my troops. This is part of why I made the switch to Zeus tanks, so they have the missiles for a little bit of extra anti-air as needed. Those fire salts are cleaning up the infantry really nicely. I need to move in the rest of my heavy armor though, so I can continue to dish out damage. So FATSQUATCH deploying a really nice defensive line with those Jaguar tanks and vehicles. FATSQUATCH is heavily outnumbered right now, but still trying to put up a fight. Thor's coming in to score some nice hits on those factories, but they don't destroy the factories. So those are some pretty tanky factories there as well for FATSQUATCH. My hammer tanks are in the back of the red player's base now. We see triple assault vehicle factories trying to pump out as many armadillos as possible. We're going to switch to a gold vehicle attack boost. My Zeus tanks are firing onto the barracks for FATSQUATCH, trying to thin out the numbers of riflemen. Bullet, meanwhile, is moving in with a heavy ground army as well. My army consists of now mostly Zeus tanks with shield. Bullet's got a few Torrents and Zeus tanks on his end. And we're continuing to just clean up these ground troops. The riflemen from FATSQUATCH desperately trying to fight it out with my army. FATSQUATCH is not giving in. He's just continuing to try and fight to the very end. We see another mole coming out. Looks like the mole is going to try to attack with the drill, but my Zeus tanks are going to concentrate fire on the mole, and we're going to clean up the mole. Nicely done. Meanwhile, troops from Bullet just continuing to exert that long-range pressure with the Torrents. Bullet's also got command of the sea right now. And here comes some more Thors. Direct hits on the infrastructure. We take out a supply center, and other supply centers are heavily damaged by those Thors. We finally take out the level 3 headquarters from the red player, so red will only be able to produce a limited amount of units. So we can see this level 2 shipyard from the yellow player from FATSQUATCH being cleaned up, and my Zeus tanks are continuing to just slowly steamroll the rest of this red player's base. Bullet, meanwhile, continue to slowly make his way through the rest of FATSQUATCH's base, and we're going to continue to clean up the remainders of their bases. Alright, this is a pretty much good game at this point. The rest of this battle is just Bullet and I cleaning up the pieces for FATSQUATCH's base and FATSQUATCH's ally. Both of them put up a good fight, but Bullet and I were able to come out with the win in the end. You can see that FATSQUATCH was trying to deploy a reserve headquarters just to continue to fight to the end. I respect FATSQUATCH for doing so. We see emergency measures boost being deployed just so that anti-air can fire a little bit on the Thors. And I'm going to use a few boosts to fulfill a contract. Alright, that's pretty much a good game. We finished off the torpedo platform, and that's going to be it. We'll see you in the next battle. Good luck with your battles until then.